Libra, a farewell that will mark your life. There's something that happens to Libra at the end of any cycle. It's not crying, it's not anger. It's a specific silence that comes from within. That pause before releasing something you already know you need to release. But part of you is still trying to calculate if it's really the right time. And most people look at that and think, Libra is balanced. Libra handles goodbyes well. Libra knows how to let go. But if you're a Libra, you know that's not quite the case. You know that what appears to be balance to others is often the result of silent work that happens far from anyone's eyes. That what they call serenity is sometimes the last layer of strength you manage to gather before appearing. And the farewells, the farewells of Libra. They rarely resemble what they truly are. Imagine a very tidy room. Every object in its right place, every surface clean, everything in apparent order. This is the farewell Libra shows to the world. But open the drawers of this room. Inside, things have been quickly shoved in, organized in a hurry to keep the overall look intact. Don't throw them away. Kept them. Unresolved issues. Put them away. Libra doesn't abandon. It keeps them. There's a specific kind of goodbye that almost every Libra carries with them. It's not the loudest one. It's not the one that made everyone cry or ended in an argument. It's the one that happened too quietly. The one where you organized everything, said the right words, made sure the other person was okay, and left carrying something you never quite named. Because that's how Libra works in a farewell. You don't allow yourself to be the chaos, you allow yourself to be the support. The person who eases the ending so that the other person doesn't have to face its raw weight. And in the process, you end up carrying a version of grief that no one around saw happening. This is not weakness, far from it. But it's a standard, and that standard comes at a cost. When Libra says goodbye to someone or some phase of life, two processes are happening simultaneously. What others see, the composure, the consideration, the elegant way of ending things, and what happens inside, in a space you rarely open to anyone. And the curious thing is that these two processes rarely intersect. You can narrate the farewell with precision. You can describe what you felt, what you thought, but the exact moment when something closed inside you, that silent click when you knew it was final, that moment usually remains without words. Not because you lack sensitivity to it, but because naming it would make it real in a way that disrupts the balance you're trying to maintain. And here begins something worth looking at closely. Because the goodbye that will mark your life isn't necessarily the one you've already said. It could be the one you're still in the middle of, without realizing it's a goodbye. Or the one that has become a constant presence, a background weight you've learned to carry as if it were part of you. Libra has a fascinating and frightening ability to transform farewells into companionship, to remain present in something that deep down has already ended. Not out of an inability to let go, but out of a profound loyalty to what it represented. Because of the difficulty of closing what was good, because of the real cost of admitting that something is over. And while all this is happening, something remains suspended inside you, something that doesn't yet have a name, something you've spent so much time organizing for others that you've never had space to organize for yourself. And this something, that weight that's been held back instead of released, that's what's going to be revealed in the next few minutes in a way you may never have seen before. It was while searching for answers to this that I found this digital book, The Divine Path, that guides your zodiac sign to a life of purpose, was created to work precisely in that space, that between what you carry out of loyalty and what you need to let go of to find yourself. For Libra, who specializes in taking care of other people's ends before taking care of their own, this book is not a manual, it's a mirror. It helps you recognize what has remained open within you, to name what has remained nameless, to give yourself the same attention you have always given to everything around you. It doesn't tell you what to feel, It gives you clarity about what you already feel and what to do with it. You are at this very moment at a point of recognition. Something in this narration has touched a place you know well, but rarely visit. This discomfort you are feeling, this sense that there is something there that needs to be looked at, is not an accident. It is the sign that it is now, not when you are ready, not later, now. The link is in the first pinned comment. But be aware, this content may be taken down. Click now and download your copy. And tell me in the comments, is there a farewell in your life that you know hasn't truly closed yet? No need for details, just tell me, is it still open? Libra's loyalty to the past has an undeniable beauty. It doesn't discard, it doesn't erase, it honors what existed. But there's a very subtle and very important difference between honoring and carrying, between keeping something in memory and keeping it in the body. And Libra, more than any other sign, needs to truly learn this difference. Because honoring what was doesn't require you to keep dwelling on what's over. It doesn't require you to keep alive the bonds that have already served their purpose. And here's something most people never realize when they look at Libra from the outside. They don't cling to the past out of nostalgia. They cling to something much more subtle. They cling because letting go seems to them like a form of betrayal. Imagine a boat, sails unfurled, wind in its favor, everything ready to set sail, but the boat doesn't move. Why? Because it's still tied to the pier. And sometimes Libra is that boat. There's no lack of will, no lack of ability. There's a rope, thin, almost invisible, that still binds it to the past. And it doesn't always know the rope is there. It just feels that it's not moving as much as it could, that something is weighing it down for no apparent reason. This rope has a name. It's the grief that wasn't processed, the farewell that was arranged outwardly but never felt inwardly, the ending that was made easy for the other person, but never processed by herself. And while this grief remains suspended, Libra carries with it all the versions of what it could have been, all the paths that weren't taken, all the questions that remained unanswered and that she keeps in drawers she rarely opens. This is where the pattern becomes more sophisticated, because Libra doesn't carry this weight heavily. She doesn't wander around with it. She integrates it, makes it part of the scenery, a background weight that she has learned to work with. And that's exactly why it's so hard to recognize. It doesn't hurt like an open wound. It's more like a constant pressure, a gentle compression that's always there, which she has learned to call personality. But it's not personality. It's accumulated weight. And there's a crucial difference between the two. Personality expands you. Accumulated weight contracts you, even if almost imperceptibly. Libra begins to notice this in moments when something new tries to enter their life and they feel an inexplicable resistance, as if there were a barrier they didn't consciously put up, but it's there, made not of fear, but of occupied space. Because when you carry too much of what has already been, there isn't much room left for what is yet to come. And here's the point that will remain hanging for a moment. If what Libra calls loyalty is, in fact, this accumulated weight disguised as virtue, what happens when it begins to recognize the difference? This question about the line between loyalty and imprisonment is precisely the kind of recognition that the divine path that guides your zodiac sign to a life of purpose explores with real depth. It doesn't tell you what to cut or what to keep. Its job is to give you the inner clarity necessary for you to perceive the difference yourself, at your own pace, with your own wisdom. For Libra, who feels everything intensely but doesn't always find words for it, this kind of clarity is not a luxury. It's what they've needed for a long time. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. There's a version of Libra that very few people know, Not the one that appears to the world, not the one that cares, organizes, considers, balances. A version that predates all of that. The one that existed before learning that balance was their responsibility. Before learning that they were the person who held things together while others found their own way. And this earlier version, this Libra that existed before the standards, is waiting, not angrily, not demandingly, just waiting for someone to finally say goodbye to the version that replaced it. Because while the learned version remains at the center, the original version has no room to move, no air to breathe. Think of a piece of clothing that once fit perfectly. It matched who you were at that moment, what you needed to show, the protection you needed. But time passed. You grew up, you changed, and the clothes no longer fit. They're too tight here, too loose there. They're no longer what you need. But they're still kept. You don't throw them away because you remember when they fit, because they represented something real, and throwing them away seems in some way to disrespect that moment. Libra carries versions of herself in this way, versions that were necessary, that were real, that served what life demanded at that point. And she doesn't know how to say goodbye to them, not because she doesn't want to, but because she never had a model of how to do it with the elegance she demands of herself in everything. Saying goodbye to a version of yourself is perhaps the hardest goodbye there is, because there's no one else to care for. There's no external balance to maintain. It's just you facing yourself, having to acknowledge that that version has fulfilled its purpose and that now it's time for it to rest. This isn't abandonment, it's evolution. It's recognizing that you no longer need the armor you built to survive a moment that has already passed. That the strength that version of yourself developed doesn't disappear when you let it go. It transforms, it integrates, it becomes something else. And here's the most disturbing point of all. Most Librans know, at some deep level, which version of themselves is waiting to be fired. It's not a hidden secret. It's a truth they know and haven't yet found the courage to name aloud. Naming this truth, this version of yourself that's saying goodbye, is precisely the first step in the process, that the divine path that guides your zodiac sign to a life of purpose follows with precision and care. It was designed for the nature of Libra, for its tendency to care for others before itself, for its difficulty in letting go of what was good, for the unique beauty of its nature which, when it finds true balance, becomes something absolutely powerful. This material is for those who already feel it, as you are feeling now. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. When Libra finally closes what was left open, and this happens sometimes quietly, sometimes more dramatically than she expected, something changes in the air around her. It's not a grand transformation, it's not a cinematic moment of revelation. It's something more subtle and at the same time deeper than any dramatic revelation could be. It's like a window that's been stuck for a long time. You've become so accustomed to the still air that you've forgotten it could be different. And when the window finally opens, whether by effort or accident, the air that comes in isn't extraordinary. It's just air, but it feels different. It feels alive in a way you'd forgotten was possible to feel. This is what happens when Libra bids the farewell it has been waiting to be said. The space that opens up is not empty. It is availability. The capacity to receive what was waiting outside, but which had no way to enter because everything was already occupied. And here's something Libra rarely anticipates. What comes after she lets go isn't necessarily different from what she had imagined. Sometimes it's surprising, sometimes it's simple, sometimes it's just a feeling of lightness, of no longer carrying something that had become so familiar it felt necessary. Because Libra has a tendency to anticipate endings as losses, as if letting go were always a decrease. But the real experience, when it finally arrives, is often the opposite. Letting go doesn't decrease. It opens up. And what opens up isn't a hole, it's a field. There is something profoundly beautiful in the moment when Libra realizes that the farewell she most feared was, in fact, the gateway to something she had been searching for a long time. Not outside, not in another person or another place, within herself. In the space she finally created when she stopped filling it with what had already gone. And then comes the question that changes everything. What if every true goodbye is, in fact, a disguised beginning? What if what Libra has always called loss is, in fact, the most honest form of arrival it knows? This is what Libra sometimes forgets in the hardest moments of endings, that the space that opens up after a farewell is not punishment, it's potential. And potential, for Libra, has always been the terrain where it functions best, when it stops contracting to fit into what it was before and begins to expand into what it is now. Every goodbye leaves a mark. This is a truth that Libra knows better than they realize. But the way they understand this mark is what makes all the difference. For a long time, Libra tends to understand the mark of farewells as absence, as that which is left missing after something is gone. The empty place where something was, the form of what is no longer present. And this perception makes sense because it's real. Absence is real. Emptiness is real. But there is another way to understand the mark, a way that doesn't replace the pain, but coexists with it. The farewell that will mark Libra's life, the one that will remain, doesn't mark it as destruction. It marks it as definition, as the moment when she became who she is. Think of a scar. It tells a story. Not the story of the injury, the story of how you survived, how your body learned to reorganize itself after something that seemed, at that moment, irreparable. The scar is not the injury. It's proof that the injury wasn't the end. The farewells that mark Libra's life are like this. They aren't the ones that destroyed her. They are the ones that revealed who she is when everything that wasn't essential was gone. When the balance she maintained for others became useless, and she was forced to find the balance that was hers, the one that lay beneath everything, the one that never needed external validation to exist. And here's the most beautiful thing about Libra and goodbyes. It survives them all, not unscathed, not without cost, but it survives. And each time it survives, it discovers a little more about who it is when it stops being the support for everything else. When it stops being the scale and becomes the one holding the scale. When it stops taking care of external balance and begins to understand that true balance always began within. The farewell that will mark your life, Libra, may have already happened. It may be happening now. It may be the one you don't yet have the courage to begin. But whatever it is, it didn't come to diminish you. It came to show you what remains when everything that isn't you goes away. This is different from resignation. It's different from passively accepting what has come. It's the active recognition that you've been through something, and that who you are on the other side is not the same person who went in. It's someone who now truly knows where their own center lies. What remains after a true farewell, what Libra truly carries after the weight is gone, is the theme that the divine path that guides your zodiac sign to a life of purpose explores in a way that delves deep into the specific nature of this sign, into its way of feeling, processing, resisting, and finally surrendering to what is real. Because Libra isn't just the sign of balance, it's the sign that discovered that true balance only exists when you are honest with what has become unbalanced inside. If you've made it this far, you already feel that this material is for you. Don't let this moment pass. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. Libra, you are the sign that was born knowing that everything has two sides, that every ending carries a hidden beginning behind it. that every goodbye is, on some level, an act of courage, because it requires you to let go of something that was real, to make room for what is yet to be real. The farewell that will mark your life doesn't have a fixed name. It doesn't have a date. It doesn't have a predefined form. It reveals itself when you are ready to recognize it. And the fact that you've made it this far, that you've stayed, that you've listened, says a lot about where you are now. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to know exactly what goodbye awaits you. You just need to be willing to look with the same attention and care you've always given to everything around you, inside yourself. Because inside, there's a Libra who knows the way, who always knew, who was waiting with all the patience and elegance that define this sign, for the moment when you would finally turn to her and say, "I'm ready to listen." That moment could be now.